All right, welcome back to another episode of the TO Show. Um, Again, I appreciate everyone's support on the last episode. I love having Carl on the last episode, and this next guest that we're gonna have on here is special to me. He's been one of my best buds ever since I've been here up at UAlbany, and he hits a lot of home. I remember meeting him for the first time, and it was definitely hit off. So here is our next guest here, Mr. Nyc Burns, Mr. Nyc Burns. Nick, what's going on, man?
Odie, great to be on. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today, man?
I am doing fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. We play in 5 days coming up here, and I'm excited to get going. A little road trip to New Hampshire, a little nationally ranked opponent that we get to go play, and it's gonna be fun.
There you go. What does fall camp look like right now that you guys are playing in the spring and not the fall? I mean, what have you guys been doing? How has that been different?
Yeah, so like the fall camp stuff and stuff like that, we didn't really get to practice much, and even lift. I think it was for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. We maybe actually lifted in practice, and when we were in practicing, we weren't really even practicing. It was technically part of our conditioning, and so we were just in helmets and stuff. So we were just kind of just running through plates. We weren't even kind of throwing the ball really. It was interesting. It was definitely a different experience compared to just a little fall camp compared to what it's like. It's a lot different.
Is it like one of those deals where the coaches aren't supposed to be there, but they're not there?
No, they were allowed there. They're allowed there. It was not one of those. It was not one of those deals. It was not. Don't get me wrong. We were, there was a couple of things that we did outside of stuff that we probably weren't supposed to, but we still found fields to hit and throwing around just because we weren't really able to do much.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh man, hey, how are you doing? How has been your transition from football to the workplace, man? How's that been for you?
It's been a journey. It's been fun. I was actually very stressed out and anxious about it whenever I was kind of leading up to graduation, and that point where it's like, hey man, you got to get a job. It's time to start real world, real life, whatever you want to call it. But, I told myself, I said, well, just like anything, you get into it, you figure it out, you get comfortable. And I say comfortable in a good way, you'll get comfortable. And that's exactly what happened. So, it's been good, having a good time. I'm loving the real world, quote unquote.
Yes. Have you like missed, playing sports or playing football at all? And I understand you talked about you were doing the 7-on-7 thing, but have you like just felt like, man, like I really miss it. Like I know knowing that like you'll never be able to like put the pads on again. Like, does that hit yet or anything like that? You're like, man, I kind of wish I could, throw them on like one more time. How Coach Davis always says, just like that, it's gone, and yeah. Have you had any moments like that yet?
It's funny. So before I answer that directly, I'll give some background to it. We always would talk about coaches kind of have like this coach vision, right? Like, hey, we're players and we see it from a different perspective, and the coaches see it from this side where it's all from here. It's all more high level concept type stuff, right? And so we're like, God, well, if coach was just like, what's this guy would just figure it out, Well, I think I got into a player's mindset where I was envisioned, I could only see here. And since moving away, not playing football this last season and watching a lot of football on TV, I was like, oh, wow, it's kind of crazy. And you see it from a different perspective. I think whenever I was in college and playing football, I got to a point where I was just burned out. It's the same stuff every day. Practice, meetings, lift, practice, meetings, lift. The whole thing. Go to classes, do your homework, go to bed. And I got burned out. And then I get to the point now where I'm out of it. And it's like, man, maybe I would have done a couple of things different, but I have to say I am excited that I'm where I'm at now. I do miss playing a little bit, do miss it a little bit, but it was time for me to move on. It was time for me to move on, Odie.
I think you, at the end of the day, you did the right thing. Do you think, going back on it, were you, big on Division I football, but do you think Division I football at the end of the day was like the right place for you when you said you got burned out? Because I understand, like, I mean, the viewers don't know, but you started out at Oklahoma State, walk on at Oklahoma State, then you went to JUCO at NEO, and then you came to Albany here. And do you think, like, maybe Albany, or even just a Division I program, was not the right place? Is that something that going through your head, like maybe I should have gone like Division II or Division III, which a little bit more laid back, more academic focused, and I wouldn't have the same kind of burned out feeling?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought. I'm not sure. I know whenever I went to NEO, small junior college, right? Small junior college football. I mean, the whole football team lived in one what do you call it? Building. We each had one building called Dyer, and the whole football team was there. So we had a really tight knit bond group of guys, and we had a lot of fun. I would have stayed there 4 years if I could have. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe a smaller field. Maybe I would have had more fun in a smaller field. But the past is the past. Can't change it. I learned a lot of great stuff from Albany and every other places that I was at. So yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I would have had a better time somewhere else. But hey, it's all good.
Let me tell you, I'm missing you boys, with especially you, Tim, and Griffin, and just hanging out with you guys, and Braden's still there, but I miss hanging out with you guys. I remember that I was almost not crying, but I was sad after Montana State, knowing that y'all are going to be gone, and us going, you, Griffin, and us going to, Fridays
Fridays, we had some good times.
Fridays every week. You could go bowling a couple times. Had a good time doing that, because I honestly miss you guys, because those, you guys being gone, it's like, and especially with this COVID stuff, like, the reason why I got to meet you guys is really during camp. Like, I didn't really start talking to you my freshman year of camp, and same thing with Griffin when he came next year. I mean, also Tim, my freshman year, where we got to be able to build those bonds during that time. And, with this COVID stuff, we used to sit down and just BS for, 3 meals a day in the dining hall. But now, like, we don't have stuff like that. We didn't have any camp like that where we were creating those bonds.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. But like I said, I definitely miss you. I know a lot of guys on the team miss your energy. I love your Snapchats you send me in the morning. Though I think I might be hiring you as my next life coach. I think I might have to. You know more stuff about that than I do, and I think anybody can attribute to all the stuff that you read about. I know that's something you're interested in. Is that you want to talk a little bit more about that in your books that you've been reading? Because I know a little bit that you were starting to get into it just about as you left.
Yeah, I think the more perspective that I was able to gain and earn, and coming full circle, back whenever I got started with Albany, I don't know the years. I'm not even going to try to think of it. But I started listening to some Joe Rogan, and made me start thinking about things. Man, what is life? How do I make this better? And that comes the rabbit trail on YouTube of self-development and self-help and mental development. And I think I came right down the exact path that I was looking for. But all about mindset and positivity, and how can I put myself in the best position moving forward. I'm just happy to always be an inspiration of sorts, or a guy that can bring around the energy, being the vibe check guy to always bring the good vibes, to a 6 a.m. lift that nobody wants to be at. Hey man, this lift sucks. Let's win, right? Let's get it.
Exactly.
Whatever it is, and if we gotta BS and complain through the entire workout so that we can get through it at a high peak, operating level, then hey, we got to do what we got to do. But no, I'm definitely having fun sending some Snapchats and sending some quotes from some books and sending some videos from some things that I'm hearing and things that I'm focusing on. So hey, if I can be a positive energy and vibe for many people, then hey, I'm here for it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think that's I think in my opinion, that's one of the best things somebody can tell you is how much they impact you or something, something or something like that, where there's like, hey, you've really impacted me on my life, or you've done something to help change that. Now, this gets me thinking a little bit is I think we might have to get the boys back on a future podcast, is get you, Griffin, Braden, and Timmy on the podcast, and see where
I'm
this
start
leads.
laughing thinking about all those guys.
I know I can't I can't imagine the stuff that would come up between the four of us, five of us. That I think that would be in the future would be something that we'll have to do. I think we're all going to have to get together at some point once we all get time together and just
get together, watch some Bachelor in Paradise, do the whole deal. Those of you listening that don't know, that whole group of guys, my last fall camp at Albany, what is it? Is it Liberty up there?
Liberty. Yeah, we were all up in Liberty.
Everybody stayed in Liberty. And so we would come over, we would go to one person's house, or one person's room at night. And instead of going to bed and, maybe getting some sleep or spending some extra time in your playbook, we watched Bachelor in Paradise. And it was probably one of the funner fall camps that I had.
I think that was probably the funnest one mine's been short, but that's been the funnest one I've had. I definitely, for sure.
I mean, I was getting to hang out with you a lot too, because that season I wasn't just playing quarterback, I was playing a lot of receiver. So I'm getting to learn all kinds of stuff from that side and getting to hang out with you. And hey, then we're gonna go watch The Bachelor in Paradise. Maybe we're gonna go to Fridays outside of fall camp after.
Exactly.
The whole nine.
But also that year you got to spend a lot of time with me because we were travel roommates.
Oh yeah.
That was when I've been blessed to have two really good travel roommates. I remember last year. Sorry, Todd, but Nick just one up you a little bit last year. With that, I remember we would just have the best times. We would just have the funniest stuff that would just come up.
Oh my God.
In our rooms. We'd throw on a movie or something, start BSing about something, or it was.
I couldn't even if I had to remember something that we would crack up laughing about. I couldn't tell you one thing that we laughed at.
Honestly, now I think about it, it's like, what did we even laugh about?
I don't know how many times my stomach was hurting and we were out of breath laughing. I don't know. Maybe we were delirious. I don't know. Sometimes college football do weird stuff to you.
I think so, but I remember everyone just like, these guys are a bunch of idiots, man. Like, what are they laughing at? This is the dumbest.
Oh my God, dude. We were always, because like we'd get started on something, we'd finally get wherever we were going, on our trip, whether it was a bus ride or hop on a plane and then on a bus, we'd finally get to the place and say, hey, we got a couple hours downtime, go hang out. A lot of guys would just go back to their rooms and go to sleep, or guys would go hang out in one room and hang out, whatever. We'd go back to the room and, we'd hang out a little bit, but, we might take a little nap. But we would get cracking up laughing on just the dumbest stuff, random stuff that I don't know. I don't even know what it would be. And then we'd go down for like team meals and team meetings and offense meetings. And we're like, hey, you remember this? And then we can't stop laughing. It's like, oh God. And then that last year, I wasn't always with the quarterbacks like I had been before. I would hang out with you guys with the receivers, and then I would maybe mess around with them for a little bit, and then I would sit with you guys. So we were having too much fun.
It was a good time. It was a good vibe. So especially when we were winning and stuff, but it was just good vibes. You just brought the good vibes to me, at least, and it helped me loosen up a little bit, because I know sometimes on those road trips you kind of get all, oh, you're gonna go play a football game, like you got to have some sort of that. But I think a lot of the time you're playing, well, at least I'm playing best when I'm just having a good time, having fun,
Oh
and
yeah.
just having a good time. I'm out here just having a good time. I care, but I'm out here to have a good time. It
Yeah.
doesn't last forever.
If you're playing too tight, you're playing too tight. You're not going to be able to get in and out of things. Your head, your mindset's going to be out of the place. I mean, yeah, we were definitely out there playing loose for sure. Whatever we were messing around, dude. I'll tell you what. Everybody watching, you have to go to a hotel and watch movies with Tyler Oedekoven at some point, because I'm telling you, dude, we could watch this guy on the TV remotes. We could watch 6 or 7 movies at a time. It's like commercial break, click, 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 click. There it is. Now we're watching another movie. We'd get going. Oh, commercial break, click, 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 click. Watching another movie.
It drives my
So
my girlfriend crazy. She's like, I just want to watch one movie. We're watching TV at night. She's like, I just want to watch one movie. Like, I'm like, but I don't want to watch the commercials. So let's like flip between channels. So like, all right, we'll watch one movie, but if it's on a commercial break, like we'll flip to another one. If that one's on, we'll find another backup. And if that one's on, we'll find definitely another backup that might be on TV. So I got some skill when it comes to the remote flipping. If they had a league or a tournament, professional remote flipping, I think I'd be in contention. I might not win it, but I'd be up there.
I think you could start streaming that live. That could be another stream of content. Hey, TK's watching some movies today, and we're gonna have like a remote cam, and we're gonna have a TV cam, so we can watch. Oh, look at the pure form. The form on this guy.
I might have to start up a new YouTube channel and be like, hey guys, when you're watching TV, okay, here's what you got to do. If you see one movie on and it's at a commercial break, make sure you have 2 to 3 backups, and I'll show you the technique. And then I'll just buy all the different remotes and be like, okay, here's how you use your thumb, and here's how you
the whole line. The worst case scenario that you can get in is, so realistically, when we're at these hotels, we're probably watching maybe 2 movies at a time. The worst is when you get 2 really good movies, but they're both on the same, like the same pattern, as far as they're playing the movie at the same time and they're playing commercials at the same time. So then it's like, which commercials do we want to watch? Which TV channel has the better commercials? And then you're like, now this is just coming too far here. Now this is just coming. Flip it. You gotta have a third backup.
That's a tough one, especially when we got 2 like really good movies. I think one time we were watching like The Accountant, and there's another movie, and I'm like,
like Equalizer or something.
We're like, oh man, which one do you watch? Like, how do you pick what mood? It's like the same movie almost. Like it's almost the same plot. Like a little bit. You want Denzel or do you want Ben Affleck? Like which one are you in the mood for?
That's tough, man. That's tough. I mean, I'm not gonna make any choices right now because there's no pressure. But that's a tough decision.
That would be decision. Yeah. I think
man.
you might have to. That one might have to be like you watch kind of half and half. Like okay, this is at a good part. Like all right, we gotta stay here. Like like that would be pretty sweet. But let's go back a little bit to your workplace. Talking about the workplace a little bit. How are you able to transition? Set yourself up to get a job relatively soon, because how soon were you able to get a job out of college when you graduated?
So I graduated in May, and I want to say got connected and started talking with my eventual employer in June. So okay. It wasn't quite before, but it was pretty quick right after. And then
it was like almost a month, pretty much a month right after you graduated. So how were you able to set yourself up, to get that job, or even just be out there, be a candidate for that position? How were you able to network or even market yourself to get to that spot? Just for, people who because we got to have a lot of student athletes up here graduating, having their last semester here at UAlbany, or even just around the country. What can you give advice to the student athlete, or even the athlete? What's one thing that you did, and what's another thing that you didn't do that you wish you did?
Yeah, no, I think I mean, first of all, I didn't get started, really kind of preparing for the future. At this point, what are you right now? You're a junior.
Yeah, I'm gonna end my junior year here
So
in May.
got how many more years of eligibility after this year?
So after this year, let's think here. I'll still be a redshirt sophomore, so I'll still have
You got so much time, dude.
I
So
have 2 more
in that
years
in that saying,
or
I
3
didn't,
more
I didn't,
technically.
yeah, I didn't really start planning and trying to get things started for what the next step was until I think my last season, and it was like maybe even after the last season. And what I was doing was grinding on LinkedIn. So I got on LinkedIn, and thankfully my dad was there to help me a lot with, hey, post these types of things, reach out to these types of people, send messages every day, be active and communicate with people back and forth. And it was, hey, what are some things, because look, Odie, if I sit here and I said, hey, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? The answer is probably like, I don't know, And so it's like, hey, what are some things that you're interested in? And whatever you can narrow those things down to, maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 things. Hey, start finding people in those fields, do some research and find some people in those fields and start connecting with people, start talking with people, have some informational interviews where it's, hey, can we hop on a phone? I'm interested in your field and I'd love to hear what your perspective is on it. So I had a couple of those types of calls with different people in different fields. And, my major was marketing. And so I was talking to a lot of people in the marketing space and just trying to learn more about the industry. And the more that I learned about it, the more that I realized I didn't know anything about it and I didn't want to go into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, maybe you think you're interested in something, but maybe it's something you really wouldn't like very much. But so, being on LinkedIn and being active and sending messages and connecting with people, posting content and interacting with other people's content. And I got to say, I think one of the most valuable things is being able to get on the phone and talk with people. And if nothing else, just to improve your communication skills. And so those were a couple of things that I did. And LinkedIn actually ended up leading to what eventually, turned into a job.
Wow. So also you didn't ever had any like sort of like technically work experience really, but prior to any internships or anything like that.
No.
Would you, if you were to go back and do it again, like let's say you were to do, would you think that having an internship and testing something out, do you think that would be viable for people? Maybe we're talking about freshmen, sophomores right now that maybe are, at least have not a, like at least some sort of a clue. Like, all right, I'm declaring my major here. Like, let's just say, for example, somebody who's in the business school, they're saying, okay, I'm declaring as a marketing major and I want to figure out like if I like marketing or maybe management or finance or something, would you recommend them, finding an internship, a summer internship, or whenever they have time internship to kind of test the waters and figure that out?
I think I think it's a weird deal. I think internships are good. I think internships are good. I think there's certain positions and certain industries that prerequisites are a little bit more impactful than others. I mean, I got my current position and I didn't have to have like prerequisites. I didn't have to have like, oh, how many years of work experience do you have, or whatever you want to fill in the blank with. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think there's certain industries that it's probably a little bit better to have more things like that on your resume. But I don't know. I think if you can find the right people that align with your your why and your soul, your sole purpose, I think things work out. I don't know. Maybe that's like a biased perspective answer. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know I've talked to a lot of people and they've said that an internship can be very viable, but also can be hurtful because, if you don't find the right one, you're kind of at the end of the day wasting your time. But if you end up finding something that you do love, like, man, now you got to hit it on the hail. You can figure out, what's what you want to do after, postgraduate. What also going back on schooling and stuff like that. Do you has you schooling translated any sort of to any sort of thing you're doing in the workplace? I just want to because I'm personally like, I think it's all about getting we talked about with this dev on the first podcast, a little bit with Carl, is, it's all about getting that piece of paper, making sure, like I'm a college graduate. Have you really used much of your degree at all in your current job?
You want to hear something wild, Odie. So, and I will say I'm probably, or my situation's probably a little bit more unique than others, and not every, position and application and what, interview process is going to work like this. But whenever I went in, and I've never told you this before, but whenever I went in to interview for what my current position is, so going back to LinkedIn, I got connected with one guy, and he connected me with another guy, which ended up being my eventual employer. I went in to meet him and our president, and they just wanted to meet, kind of talk, get to know each other a little bit. And I brought my resume. And all this stuff. And they said, "What is that? What did you bring in that folder?" And I said, "It's my resume." And I went to give it to them, and they were like, we don't want that. We don't want that. And I said, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, you don't want that?" And they said, "No." They said, you know why we had this meeting today?" And I said, it's an interview. What do you mean? I don't know. He said, "We wanted to find out if you had the right character and the right beliefs and the right attitude, and you could communicate well, things like that, so that we knew that you were the right fit for our culture, and that you could, maybe bring some things that would expand our culture." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "We're going to teach you everything else. We're going to teach you everything you need to know." I got a degree in marketing, and I'm not doing marketing. And I'm absolutely loving what I'm getting to do, and I'm learning all day, every day, and it's absolutely exciting. And so, I mean, I think that's exactly kind of what you're saying, is getting that piece of paper. They did say, "Hey, we like that you have a degree, because we know that you can start something and finish it."
Yeah.
But I mean, that was about all of it. Going back to exactly what you're saying, no, everything I learned in school doesn't matter at all. Doesn't matter at all. Now, there's, the intangible things you learn from being in college, and specifically playing college football. The character and the discipline and the humility and those types of things that you learn intangibly, but that are not from schoolwork, from classes.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, let's go on. Do you think college football, and Coach D talked about this, college football, what it's like? It's like having another job pretty much outside of school. Do you think that has helped you translate to the workplace as being a college athlete? And do you think, I think some people kind of not necessarily hide, but they don't, really like expand. Hey, I'm a college athlete. Like, I really know how to work my time management, do all these other things. Do you think that helped you, just whether it's resume or just even just in the workplace, like help you work harder and strive to get to the goals that you want to get to?
I think as far as resumes go, and looking from the outside in, as far as not being an athlete and looking at a student athlete, I don't know what kind of impact that truly has. I think that I would look at it and say that that's valuable, but that's only because, and this is kind of the other answer to that, I think that college football was massively more impactful for entering the workplace than college, like actually college classes actually were. I mean, just like we were saying, the intangible character that you build, those types of intangible skills, those are the things that are truly impactful from my college experience. And 9,800,000,000% of that came from college sports, and not from college classes.
Wow. Yeah. That's what I figured, is most of the part was, hey, like college football or college sports just teach you how, have that work ethic, that drive to be better. Do you see, and be honest with yourself, do you see yourself as one of the hardest working people in your job, just because of like, how you were brought up, or, even college football, like knowing that, hey man, like I want to be the best at the best I can be, with that, has that helped you with that mentality helped
Yep,
you?
100%. Well, and I don't know if I'm going to sound arrogant saying that being a quarterback, the natural leader, yada yada. But yeah, the whole mentality of first in, last out. It's putting in the work and the grind time to accomplish what you want to accomplish. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. Whatever it is, it's not going to happen by accident or by default. It has to be intentional. It has to be by design. It has to be something that you're doing on purpose. And those are character skills and traits that I learned as a quarterback in college football. And those are things today that are helping me to excel. It's not what I learned in classes. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Hate
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see it, but it is the truth.
It's a sad truth, I think, in most places. I think because at the end of the day, each place you go, and that's what I've learned, is each place you go has a different sort of culture, different sort of things that they do everything. Not everyone does everything the same way, so they're going to teach you, how they know how to do it, because at the end of the day, that's how they've got that businesses became successful and done these other things. But going back to working hard and having that now not having that free time, or now having all this free time, because of, right now we're pretty much almost about 6.5 days of the week, doing stuff. Do you find yourself like, like, what do I do? Like trying to pick up other hobbies or stuff, like has filling the void of football, have you found something to fill that void? Because I've talked to like my dad or other past athletes, and I'm just sitting there saying, like, thinking right now, like, how do I go on life without like having some sort of sport at least to like go do, like, because that's all I've done my entire life. How have you been able to do that, fill that void?
Yeah, no, it's definitely strange. I've talked about this with a couple of friends here, and my family and friends that I've got, here back home here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But whenever you play a sport, and especially when you move on to college, and if you're lucky enough to go on to the NFL, whenever you're then finally done with that sport, I mean, that's a huge part of your identity. I mean, for me, it was, I think, 22 years of my life that it was like, okay, now this is no longer what you do, or it's no longer a thing that you do, right? And that's a huge void, because exactly like you're saying, think of how much time we spend perfecting our craft, as you as a receiver, myself as a quarterback. I mean, again, practice, meetings, film, wait. I mean, we got all this stuff, So at this point, I'm really geeking out, spending a lot of time putting myself in the best position with my career. But all the other time, all my spare time, dude, I'm spending like 2.5, 3 hours in the gym every day with my boy. That's been a lot of fun. I mean, at this point, you've only truly experienced, you know, very intentional training in a college weight room with what Coach Barber's workout program is, right? And so now I'm getting to have a lot of fun with one of my boys that he studied kinesiology in college. So he's big on, how does this muscle work? How does that muscle work? How can we better, train that muscle? And so we're getting to be, like I said earlier, very intentional with our training, and we get to have a lot of fun with it. And so spending a lot of time doing that, like you mentioned earlier too, helping with the Sooner 7-on-7 teams here in Tulsa. I mean, it's all Oklahoma, but so I'm actually the head coach of the 15U football team, and so getting to call some plays and run some 7-on-7s, competitive 7-on-7s against some guys, and having some fun doing that. And then I'm getting to help with the 18U guys, and man, it's crazy. It's crazy how the amount of offers some of these kids have, and they're like, gonna be a junior in high school, got 7 Power 5 offers, and you're like, yo. Because that was not my experience in high school.
No, it's not
These
many.
kids, some of these kids are so far developed. They're learning and doing stuff that I didn't learn until, I got to college. And it's like, good Lord. But as far as filling that time gap, I mean, reading books, hitting the gym, helping these guys with Sooner 7-on-7 during the weekends, and living life.
What type of offense you running out there at the 7-on-7, man?
Man, I don't know. I don't know if there's a name for it. I mean, it's pretty much spread. It's pretty much spread, but I mean, we do a lot of empty sets. We're obviously not running the ball.
Yeah.
So we're doing just a lot of empty sets. Maybe we'll do some little arrows and shoots and stuff with the running back from the backfield, but we do a lot of empty sets, spread them out, and running some crossing concepts, running some, get the QB rolling out and taking little dink and dunk plays all the way down the field. And it's interesting. I've never called plays before, but this weekend was my first time actually getting to really call some plays live in a game. So we did well. We did well. Our first day was yesterday. We played 4 games, went 1-3. You hate to see it, but we lost every single one by 1 possession, and that was close. And those guys hadn't got to play together as a team since maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, because we've had some weather and stuff here and had to cancel some practices. And so we went out there and played for the first time as a full team after a month or so of not practicing. We only practice once a week, and we've only had 2 practices that together total. So hey, we did a good job, and we made it to the semifinals. So today we made it to the semifinals. So we picked some things up this morning and got to moving some stuff. So
that's awesome. Do you enjoy calling those plays? Do you find yourself good at it though as well? I mean, it's 7-on-7, but like, do you find yourself like, calling the right plays or doing, just do you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's pretty fun. I do have it is pretty fun. Now, as far as am I good at it? I don't know. Shoot, I don't know. I mean, we get moving the ball, but very similar to how Coach Davis, drew up his offense. And obviously there's a lot more game planning that goes into playing a real game of football versus just 7-on-7, and a lot of prep that you can go into a game with. We don't have any options or times to game plan for a specific type of defense. I mean, we go out there and it's like, hey, we're going to run some base offense this first drive because we have no idea what they're going to do.
Exactly.
And so, but once we get to the point where we're like, hey, they're either going, 2 or 3 or 2-man or, whatever it is, right? Yeah. Then we're like, okay, let's build some concepts that have answers for both. They go 1 high, and a lot of it's just 1 high, 2 high. So we use a lot of pretty simple concepts like that: 1 high, 2 high. Hey, read this side if it's 1 high, read this side if it's 2 high. And, we've been doing a lot of, get the quarterback rolling and toss some quick outs and, some stuff like that just to get some guys going. But we're having some fun.
Do you see yourself doing that in the future, possibly? Like, is that something you want to do? Maybe find that, part to fill that void a little bit is maybe like being a high school coach or your sons or whoever, daughter's youth coach or anything like that. Is that something that down the road you might want to do or something?
Definitely going to be coaching my own kids for sure. As far as now, sticking to Sooner 7, I'm having a good time with it. And a lot of the guys that we're working with, all the other coaches are guys that so our head coach over the whole organization is my private quarterback coach that I used whenever I was here in Oklahoma. And then all the coaches are guys that he trained. So wow. a lot of the other coaches are guys that I had, that I've worked with, that I've known for a long time. And so we get to have a lot of fun out there just as coaches hanging out. And, we're about to start traveling and going to Kansas City and Dallas and Houston. So we get to travel a little bit too. And so we're all hanging out together in hotels, similar to how away trips were for us.
Exactly.
Except now we get to drink beers when we hang out. We don't just hang out in a hotel room, right? So no, I think honestly, my feel for football right now is just Sooner 7. I mean, I don't know that I have any aspirations of being a true football coach, but definitely having some fun doing what we're doing right now.
Well, that's good, man. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. I mean, it seems like you've been able to fill that void with all these certain things, keeping yourself busy. I think the one thing that I think people get in trouble with is, they have their job, but they don't really have any extracurricular, the work-life balance, as they talk about in management class, or human resources, having the work-life balance, being able to, keep your work at work and keep your, stuff at home and stuff like that, being able to keep that balance and, manage your time, which I think is very important. Now you talk about you were off for a month. How hard did you get hit with the big winter front going through Tulsa there? Did you get hit hard with that?
It really wasn't too bad. It's funny, growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then going to Albany and being in Albany for 2 years, obviously a little bit different climates, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because in Albany you can get a foot of snow and wake up the next morning and you're like, God, they cleaned the roads off already, man. You gotta go to class. Here, it hit it was like maybe 4 inches max, 4 inches max of snow. Whole city shut down. Now, we kind of planned for it. So we had plenty of food and stuff, so we weren't worried about that. And right now I'm getting to work. I can work from, we have our office and stuff that's like 5 minutes away from here, but I'm able to work on my computer and stuff. As long as I got internet in my computer, then I'm good. So for me personally, it didn't affect too much, but the whole city got shut down. I mean, places were closed, schools were closed, so people weren't traveling a whole lot, but it's all good.
That's good. Do you and I got to ask this question. Some people like this and some people don't. Do you enjoy working in the office, or do you like remote more? Which one do you feel like that you are most productive and you're most comfortable with is because I've read a couple studies and different studies of, like, Google did a study and a bunch of other companies did a study on productivity and stuff in the office, or, on like Zoom, like we're doing right now, Zoom meetings and stuff like that. What's your perspective, and what do you think you're better at?
I think, I know for me, I like to kind of to separate myself from what is home, I guess, in order to kind of put myself, trick my mind into, hey, hit the focus mode, hit focus mode.
Yeah.
And I think you can do that at home if you have a home office and you have a place that is secluded and kind of alone and away from everything else. So for me right now, I don't have that space at home. So I do really like going into the office because I can kind of go there and focus, and I don't have, distractions necessarily around me. But that being said, I also am pretty lethal on the couch at like 5 a.m. in the morning when nobody else is awake, because I can sit on the couch and I can get some administrative stuff done on my laptop before I ever need to, start talking with people and getting online and, kind of being around. And whenever that time comes, I definitely like being in the office. But if I had a home office, where I truly had like some alone time, I could probably be pretty productive there.
Do you got your own place out there in Tulsa? You moved out of your parents' house, or are you still at your parents'?
No, not quite yet. We're moving there though. Just getting out. Thank God that my parents haven't kicked me out or anything, because I'm getting a great opportunity to, do what I need to do, making money and stuff, but I'm putting some money back so that I can get my own place here pretty quick. And I think the goal is to buy a duplex to start, and house hack, live on one side and rent out the other, maybe do short-term rental with VRBO or Airbnb and all that stuff. But for now, I'm hiding out at the house, staying quiet, working under a hood, and keeping my face covered and doing what I need to do in the darkness right now, so that I can put away cash and start getting some things going.
That's great. I remember you going back to that. I remember you talking about, after, I remember we were sitting at Fridays a couple times, and you were sitting there.
If we're sitting at Fridays, we're talking about some good stuff.
There was some legitimate conversations, some fantastic conversations at Fridays. Plenty of good memories at Fridays. But I remember you talking about a little bit about you going to New York City after you graduated and hang out with your girlfriend. What made you go to Tulsa? And also, is your girl still in New York City, or did she come back to Tulsa with you, and what's the situation with that?
Yeah. So, ended up coming back home because of COVID. We got released for spring break, and Perfect there. So got released for spring break. You know, I took a couple extra clothes with me for you know, just in case we, you know, move to online and all that stuff. There's a lot of talk, you know. Of course, now you guys are doing all kinds of stuff that, you know, we weren't really prepared for, you know, then, and it actually ended up working out pretty smooth, you know. But yeah, so ended up coming home because I was like, hey, if I'm going to be moving to the city, might as well come home, get to hang out with my family a little bit before before I start working and I'm not able to just leave and see my family, you know. Being from Oklahoma, it's, you know, a couple flights away.
Yeah.
And so decided to come home, and during that time ended up finding something that I had never found before that I was really interested in, and is now the current career that I'm in. And I said, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and stay here. I think I've got a really fun opportunity. And Janae is actually still here. She's permanently, you know, I say permanently, she's still in New York City, but she's here right now because of COVID and everything's closed there that she would be doing. So she's still currently here, but all of her, you know, she's still got her apartment in the city and all of her stuff there and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so we're both here right now. It's been really fun. You know, we've been long distance pretty much our entire relationship until COVID started.
Yeah.
So, and the good news is that I love her more now than I ever have. So
Well, that's good. That's always
the
good.
exact opposite after we got together. So, so
Well, that's good news. That's good news. I remember you talking, and I always thought you were crazy because, man, I can't stand that place. I cannot stand New York City. Way too many people, man. There's way too many people for me. That ain't the place. That ain't the place for me, man. I'm more of the guy out in the sticks, or, you know, out in the suburbs or wherever, and just hanging out, you know. But
Yeah.
going back to it a little bit out on the sticks, have you been able, with all this time, you ever, you know, you talked about, was your uncle's or whose land that you have out there? Were you able to go hunting out there?
Yeah, it's my uncle's land that, yeah, he owns it. We got 162 acres out here that we go hunting at. Yeah.
Were you able to fill some tags this fall?
Sadly, I did not fill any tags. Yo, I think I was the only one that, like, I must have had some type of like force field around me that didn't allow any deer to come.
Huh.
I did get to see a couple, but they were way out.
Too far.
But you know, where I hunt on our land is kind of, so there's a little, you know, like a stream that kind of comes through our land, a little creek.
Okay.
And so there's a low part of the land and then there's a higher part. And I have always hunted at the higher part. It's more of a field.
Yeah.
Whereas the lower part's pretty heavily wooded and all that stuff. So I'm up in a field, and I guess maybe the deer don't like roaming around the fields anymore. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it was me. I don't know. Who knows? But I did get to go hunting for the first time in, like, what was it? I think it was 3 years. And man, just to get away and get out into the woods and sit in a tree stand and read a book like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And kind of disconnect from my phone for a little bit was really, really nice. I had a great time getting to get out there and do that.
Well, that's good. I know people who especially grew up hunting and stuff like that. And and for me at least, like, I was fortunate this past year to go hunting, and I shot a big buck, a pretty big full 4x4 this year, and I was lucky enough to be able to go hunting pretty much because of COVID, you know, for the most part, because of us getting sent home and all these other things. It was kind of nice to be able to get out there and just, like, you know, you're kind of, at least as a college athlete, you're kind of just stuck in a dorm room, kind of stuck to a defined area. You know, you can only go really so far, you know. And I always think it's always nice to kind of just clear your mind and just, you know, you got time to think. That's what I always like drives, and I always like hunting because, you know, you're out in the woods or you're out driving by yourself or whatever. And you have all this time to think, you know, just think about certain things and just like think about different perspectives on different things, or, like, you know, stuff you can work on, or, you know, just things in life in general that I think that are very important to certain people.
I think there's, like, it seems like in today's world, there's so many things that are always trying to grab your attention, right? You're getting notifications on your phone, on your laptop, whatever it is. and there's just always stuff happening around. And I think it's so easy for people to get pulled off into today's world of always doing this, always doing that, always looking for attention, right? People always talk about, so the social dilemma is based on this idea of, the people that created social media and all this stuff. It was created, for ad revenue. It's created for ads, right? It's created to draw your attention so that they can sell your attention to corporations that are buying advertising space. And I mean, it's created this world where people put their self-worth and value into getting attention and getting likes and getting whatever you want to call it on social media, or just being on your phone, getting notifications. And instead of putting your phone down and being present in a moment, and like you're saying, kind of putting everything down and moving away so that you can think, so that you can have some time to think. I think it's so easy for people to get pulled away into that. And whenever you get pulled into that, dude, I don't think that's who we were meant to be as humans. I think as people, we should be communicating more. We should be talking face to face with more people. Zoom is a freaking awesome tool. I don't want to talk to, to homeboy that's, here in Tulsa on Zoom, because I'd rather just go grab a beer or go hang out somewhere else with that guy. But hey, you're in Albany, New York, and we can sit here and have, a pretty face-to-face type of conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I think, but you also got to think of like I guess it's called the new interface, is like, that's our new interface of our way of communicating now, is I guess by that. But what's actually funny is about social media is, many of these, I have many reasons of starting this podcast up, but one of the little reasons was being able, I'm a marketing major, and so I shadowed my dad this summer, just because I was able to, and I was able to shadow the whole company, and I got to figure out, hey, what do you want to do? Like, I got to figure out a little bit, like, what do I want to do a little bit? And what caught my eye is the digital marketing side of certain things. And I can't stand like these big tech companies and Instagram, Facebook, Google and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I still find all the stuff fascinating about all these ads and about all these different things, stuff that you can generate, and figuring out how I can get to certain customers on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google, and these certain things, which, hopefully I'll be able to get into, which I think, one of the reasons why I started this podcast up is being able to market, this is my own business now a little bit, is I'm not making any money, but I'm still marketing myself on, views and certain stuff, and more of the views getting to certain people who might need to hear this, finding the right demographic, that I might need, that people who need to hear this, you've already displayed many great information on, the school to marketplace, why. And so I want to be able to get to those certain people who need to hear it,
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think I think what you're doing is really fun and interesting as far as from your perspective. It's like, hey, this is an opportunity to take what you're learning probably in classes a little bit, right? A little bit of some of that stuff. Maybe you haven't quite gotten to that, but terminology wise, identifying target markets and trying to identify and segment out those target markets, and trying to provide value in those markets in a way to where, hey, at a very practical level for you, who do I want these YouTube videos and these podcasts to be viewed by? How can I market to them? And hey, if I market this way, do the views go up?
Yep, exactly. Constantly, like I said, I learned, and I learned more about shadowing with my dad than I did in their company than I ever did at any sort of school, or any, like, the real life experience was able to help me, I think, more and everything, and help me understand a little bit more about probably the book side of things, what than actually like real life side. Cause I think people don't understand that there's two sides of things. There's, you write it down and that's exactly like, it's a perfect scenario, but life isn't never a perfect scenario. It's always constantly changing and constantly different,
Yeah, that makes sense. So what did you do with your dad over the summer?
So over the summer, I was able to meet with the marketing department. I was able to meet with the creative department. I was able to meet with the product management, inventory, and a little bit of the accounting side of the businesses. And so I was able to sit on meetings for about 4 or 5 weeks every day, and I was able to see how the business was run, and I was able to see, I was able to sit down with these individuals, which shout out to all the Annie's staff employees for helping me out. I really appreciate it. It's definitely helped me out a lot. But taking their time out of their day just to sit down and explain what they do on a daily basis, and and being able to show me certain things and tell me terminology that might work for them, but also like working for, that's very standard across certain things. And so being able to figure out, all these certain things, be like, okay, like, hey, like, an HR ain't my thing, or like, hey, like, the marketing team side, hey, like, maybe not, certain aspects of the marketing side, might not be the best for me, but here's something that I really found interesting and I really want to use, and hopefully see my opportunity in the digital marketing side to grow over these next 5-10 years, especially even just these past 5-10-20 years of the tech boom and the tech boom and the technological boom. I think that's what I was able to do there. And so it really helped me guide me and, figure out, lead me a path to be like, okay, here's what I want to do. This is definitely not something I want to do. It's a little bit, that's what really was nice about it.
I feel you. That's good stuff. No, I mean, talk about having internships, and I don't know if that was necessarily an internship. I mean, you were shadowing your dad. I don't know if it was an internship, but talk about good experience to get to see how the business works, on the inside versus looking at it from the outside in.
Yeah. And I was able to look at it from the, outside perspective, because on my first day, I was kind of just bored because, I was a little bit kind of new on the spot. And so I was getting meetings set up. And so I was able to go through their website and figure out exactly what they do, and figure out, what's an outside perspective, what's the target demographic, like, when you're going on these things, when they're sending out emails and stuff like that, they're not going to be like, hey, like, we're going to send it to people who are 20 years old or 25 years old, even though there's plenty of people who are probably interested in crochet and quilt who are 20 and 25 years old. But the majority of the demographic who they are suited for are, people of 50 and older, who are retired and they have the time to, quilt and crochet and knit and do all these other things. So I think, I was glad I was able to get both perspectives on these things, and, start to think, okay, what's important as a marketer. And probably the one thing I took from the entire thing is, whatever position you're working at, know your business. Like what I learned, I think the best thing I was learned is that there's certain groups, and you might only communicate mostly with one of your groups, but communication, which I think Coach Davis hits it on the nail. I don't care what anybody says, if he's crazy or anything when he says this, but he is so right. The number one thing to an successful business or anything is communication. And I think I noticed that throughout the whole thing is that, hey, like, if they don't communicate with them, well, then they don't know about it. So then the business crashes, or they don't do as well as they thought they would on certain things. And, it's just like, I just think the communication part and being able to know your business and being able to have a group atmosphere, cohesive atmosphere, and not have all these different groups. Like, oh, there's a marketing department. Oh, there's accounting. Oh, there's creative, there's other things. All these people complement, in my opinion, each other, and they all need to collaborate and communicate and have meetings with each other to figure out, hey, what's so popping ideas off each other. What's best for the company? What do we think what we can do?
Yeah, no, that is the absolute truth. I know with what I'm doing right now, working with all different kinds of people, is huge, and it's something that we have to do. And if you're not able to communicate and communicate effectively what you're trying to communicate and efficiently, I mean, there's talk about massive holdups and not getting things done when they should get done. Yeah, no, that is huge. I think communication, exactly what we're saying. The key to any successful organization is good communication for sure. Well, Odie, I got to ask you another question to kind of switch gears. So obviously you are in Empire right now.
I am in Empire. Yes.
You've never lived in Empire before, or at least I never knew you living in Empire. So how has that been a change in life from Indian? Where were you at previously? Indian
and Dutch. Yeah, I said Dutch. Indian and Dutch. So yeah, it's definitely been a big jump. Like, I remember your room last year, but it's definitely a big jump. From sophomore to junior year, I don't think people understand, at least at students at UAlbany and any underclassman, who is planning on living on Empire, doing these other things. I think that there's a big jump from sophomore to junior year. You're on the meal plan, meals are provided for you, all these other things. Now you got to figure out, okay, hey, I got a meal plan for the week. I got to figure out, hey, what am I going to eat for dinner? What do I need to go get at the store, excuse me, for that week. And I got to figure out when I have classes, when I have meetings, when do I have lift, when I have these other things, when am I able to eat? And so I think the biggest thing is, getting the food and being an athlete, getting the nutrition you need, to help perform. And so, and don't get me wrong, Empire's great. Having the full size bed is fantastic. The kitchen's great. It's nice to have, cook your own food, whatever you want to. But with
great power comes great responsibility.
But you're right. With great power
comes not only is it like, hey, I'm just going to go to the caf, pick up some food, or dining hall, pick up some food. You got to cook now.
Yeah, and it takes some things are quick, but some stuff you like, oh, I'm really hungry, I really want this, but it might take a little bit extra time to take that. So you got to allocate your time even more now, instead of just like, okay, what's at the dining hall at, breakfast or dinner today? Oh, well, I'll just pick and choose whatever I want, whether it's good or not. Like, I gotta eat something, so it's there. Here I actually got to allocate time to figure out, hey, maybe I got to take out meat to defrost something like that, just as something like extra, or just little stuff like that. Like, I got to allocate certain time to that. But actually, I'm moving off campus next year, so making another big jump.
There you go.
Off campus living now, so next semester. So
I know whenever I was there and I was in Empire, I had two different sets of roommates for my first year and then my second year. But man, everybody loved when Janae came to town, because whenever she came to town, there was going to be some good food getting made up.
I remember you had us over. Oh my gosh. I told you this. Janae can hear this, so I don't care if she hears. I was like, if you don't marry that gal, man, you better look out, man, because I'm coming. She's just cleaning, cooking, doing all this stuff, man. She clearly cares about you, because she's just making, and she's a great cook. She's making all this food. I'm like, this is the best. I was eating on the dining hall stuff. I'm like, this is the best food ever since my mom has been cooking food, man. It's so good.
You want to know something that's wild? COVID happened. Guess what closes? Restaurants. Guess who gets exponentially? I don't know if I would say even gets better, but really took the opportunity by storm and shined. I mean, dude, Janae cooks better than any other food that I've ever eaten. Ever. 100%. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I am absolutely blessed to have a girl that's like throwing down in the kitchen, dude. I mean, there's sometimes too. I mean, she's done it a couple of times where it's like, we don't really have anything. It's like one of those nights where it's like, what's for dinner? I don't know, anything that's it, whatever you can find, dude, some of those, we don't have those nights. She'll find stuff in there. She'll just throw random stuff together and in a certain way. And it's absolutely delicious. I don't know, maybe that's just like my own biased opinion, but she is throwing down in the kitchen. That is no joke.
Yeah, shout out to my girlfriend. She cooks about 75% of the time now for me, and it's fantastic. I enjoy it, and I will give her a shout out right now saying, that I love when she cooks, because don't get me wrong, it's really close to like how my mama cooks. It's really close, but it's not quite as good, but it's close.
Hey, well, there's plenty of room to grow, right?
Exactly. I mean, she, like she said, she just started pretty much. She said she kind of just started actually like in the kitchen, like just this past year, kind of just like experimenting with different stuff and doing different, different things. It's kind of interesting.
It is crazy. So I've I'll help Janae do like some meal prep. I'll help her cut up some vegetables, or we need some ground beef to be browned. I'll brown some ground beef, just some little things like that to help out. And dude, it's kind of crazy how simple it is just to follow directions. And so, I mean, you can go online and find directions, and ingredients for all kinds of extravagant meals. And for the most part, I think they're relatively easy to make whenever you just follow instructions, right? Obviously, some things are going to be more difficult than others, but dude, some of these people just lay out the instructions for you. If you just follow it, then you should be good.
Well, that's me, man. I just freaking give me the ingredients. I'll follow instructions. It ain't going to be the best meal you ever had, but get me wrong, it'll taste all right. It'll be like, man, I made this. I can't believe I made this. Like, this is actually not too bad, man. Like this, I'm not saying I'm the worst cook, but man, this ain't too bad.
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so my second year at Albany, it was when me and Griff lived, together, and we got on a cycle where we were essentially like, in a relationship. We would go out and watch movies together, and we would go to restaurants and have dinner together. We even had certain chores in the house we would do together. It's pretty funny. It worked great. It worked great for the most part. And then we would have certain days where he would cook dinner for the two of us. Certain days I would cook dinner for the two of us. And we both had a menu. It was like, hey, what are we thinking tonight here? You're cooking. What are we thinking? Or I'm cooking. What are we thinking? So I think as time went on, we got to perfect our relationship as roommates and bros pretty good.
That's fantastic. But I got a little grill. So you'll see me. I got a little foldable table. We're on the first floor, so I'll freaking jump out the window, grab the grill, grab the little table. I'll sit out there, with my little drink, and I'll throw some patties on the grill, or I'll throw some chicken on the grill, man. Hey, if there's something you need grilled, man, give it to me. I know we had a couple things in the this fall here. We had like maybe one or two people over and had like brats and burgers and just had a good time. And I made some corn. I'll have to show you a picture. I made some cornhole boards and stuff and stuff when I was back home. So I brought them up here in my car, and so we would play a little bit of cornhole. Have a little brats and hamburgers and hot dogs, and just have a good time.
There you go. Is there anybody living downtown? Have you guys had any block parties down there any time recently? Or
no, it's just because of COVID and stuff. There's not been really block parties. Hopefully.
Is there a new football house?
Huh?
Is there a new football house?
No, it's the same. There's still a football house, but it's just like they've been, it's just be smart. I mean, we all want to play football, so it's like there's no point in getting COVID and stuff, because it's just so strict here. There's just no point. And if you get COVID, man, then your whole roommate's got to sit out, and this other stuff. You kind of dragging them with you with this COVID stuff. So it's like, hey, man, like we make sure no parties, no nothing. Like, just make sure, like, if you got a girlfriend or something, you can keep your group small, hang out with your girlfriend, hang out with your roommates, maybe like one or two friends who are on the team. We're getting tested 3 times a week, but other than that, hey, just keep your group small and just be smart about it. That's kind of the approach you kind of got to take. Just got to sacrifice, to do that.
So there was a couple of times that you came over, and you came over to the apartment in Empire whenever you were at Dutch or Indian, whichever one it was, and you came over and we'd hang out and we'd watch some Joe Rogan.
Yes.
So since then, I don't like watching it on my phone if I'm going to watch a full podcast.
Yeah. Can you not watch it? Like, I know you can click and it has the video option. Do you know that?
On your TV, it does.
I don't know. I don't know about your TV. I know on your phone or your laptop, I've done that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I've not checked out the TV part yet. Has it
Yeah.
not? Is it not on the TV?
Well, so I've watched it on my laptop, on my phone, but I tried to pull it up on my TV at one point. I don't know. Maybe I just missed the button. Maybe I missed the option, but I wasn't able to watch it on my TV, and I was like, God, this sucks, man. Because like, what a great thing. Like, hey, I've got a couple hours here. I'm just gonna hang out, or maybe you budget that time in to have like, hey, this is me time. I'm watching some.
Like I said, I like to make all my stuff. No, like if I was ever to make money off this or anything, like I don't think I would take like a certain platform. Like I'd still just like, hey, like, because I understand why Spotify offered him gosh knows how much money it was like to exclusively do that, but like I think it's important for have people be able to access it, like on YouTube, they can all access it. When I have all my stuff on the platforms, like I have Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts and stuff like that. I think that's important to have people be able to access on any platform that they need to access, especially being able to get out to certain people. We talked about a little bit, get out to your demographic, make sure you kind of just figure out what people like to listen to. So I started interviewing and figure out people. I did a poll on my Twitter to figure out what certain people like to listen to, which platform they listen to. So I think that's important for, any sort of podcast. And it's just like unfortunate with Joe Rogan, like, hey man, just keep them on. I enjoy the stuff on YouTube. Like, hey man, just keep it there, man. Like that's all you got to do.
Yeah. You hate to see something like that happen. I think he actually even came out and said that the transition from YouTube and Apple Pie, all that stuff to Spotify, the transfer to and from, he said that it was not near as smooth as he had wanted it to be. I mean, I don't know. I'd be curious to see, what the numbers are, not necessarily the ratings, but what is the view? What do the views look like? Have they gone up? Have they gone down? I mean, yeah, I'm curious to see what those look like because obviously it's the accessibility on YouTube is massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see that because also like, being able to be on those other platforms, like he can make, I don't think he makes any really money because he doesn't really have many sponsorships and stuff like that. But just his view counts, I feel like is way down.
He does have a lot of sponsorships, which is actually, I will say, one cool feature on Spotify. On the Apple podcast, they didn't break up the advertisements from the actual show. So the entire first part of the show was all ads, but you didn't know when the ads stopped.
Yeah.
Well, on Spotify, you click through and it will pull up a different picture for what the advertisement's for, which is kind of cool. So you can skip the ads.
Yeah.
Easy, which,
Yeah, that was always
fun. Hey, you came over to the house and you were watching, we were hanging out watching Joe Rogan. What if one of these days there's some kids that are like, hey man, you want to come over? You want to come over and watch the TK show? You want to watch the TO show? It's funny, Odie, you've got so many nicknames. I don't know. Hopefully this lives on past me, but I know that whenever I was there, there was Odie, there was TK, there was TKO, there was Oedekoven.
Yep.
I mean, you're the
There's about 50 different ones. Probably I can think of right now that, and even the coaching staff, it'll be different. Like Pat will call me something different. Coach Barber will call me something different. Rich will call me something different. Coach Fiocchi will call me something different. Coach Davis will call me something different. Coach Gattuso will call me something different. I really don't care. But it's funny because I can be able to tell who's saying what, because if they say that certain nickname, they'll be like, oh, well, that's Coach Gattuso. Oh, well, that's Coach Fiocchi, or, oh, that's Coach Barber saying something. But I think it's funny that I must be the man with a million nicknames. I don't know. One hasn't stick. Clearly they don't like one because one hasn't stuck. I have too many good ones. Either I have too many good ones or I don't have one good one.
I think it might be too many good ones because I think just while we've been here, I think I've called you 3 or 4 or 5 different things. I've called you TK. I've called you Odie. I think those are my main ones.
I mean, TK, think about Coach Davis. I mean, still, Coach Swinney brings it back. Call me the dishwasher. I remember.
You know,
I remember you telling me this. You and Braden we were in the story, and I remember you telling the story. Why don't you tell the story about the dishwasher?
God, man. Well, I don't know if I remember that exact story, but it was something along the lines. I mean, we must have been a practice, must have been a practice, and probably some type of indie period or group period, and you were probably lighting it up like you always have been. I mean, this guy right here that you're sitting on here watching, Mr. TK, is a 2 week in a row ESPN top. What is it? What was the top 10?
Yeah,
Top 10. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row that happened. So you're out here at practice and we're doing like some routes on air, or we're doing some one-on-ones, and Odie's out here, slicing them up, catching crazy balls. But I mean, he takes his helmet off and you're like, oh, this guy's a dirtbag. This guy's a dirtbag. I can't remember who started. I want to say it was Coach Davis. It was
Coach Davis.
He looked like, because I think maybe that day your beard was a little bit more scraggly.
It was something.
Your hair might have been a little bit longer than it usually is. And you just looked like an extra dirtbag that day, I guess. And for whatever reason, Coach Davis decided that you were going to be the dishwasher, because he thought you looked like a dishwasher at like a pizza shop from back in the day or something.
I think the story goes somewhere along the lines where I think you guys were at a meeting or something, and I caught a pass or something like that. And I think what you guys were telling me, you're like, man, you know what TK reminds me of? He's a dirty dishwasher guy at the pizza shop, collecting $5 an hour. Cleaning the damn dishes after the pizza shop. Can't wait till after his shift, freaking getting this whole slice of pizza afterwards as a reward, getting that big old slice. But man, he's the freaking dishwasher, the dirty son of a
slice of free pizza and drinking a 6-pack of the cheapest beer he can the whole nine. No, it's funny because there was times like, I mean, there's times in fall camp for sure. I mean, I even still crack up about this one thing, and I'll talk about that in a second, in the receiver room and film during fall camp. But dude, there's times in fall camp where it's like, okay, we've got the entire fall camp schedule planned out. And, the worst part about fall camp is those meetings at the very end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like
night meetings. Those night meetings are just horrendous.
We watched hours and hours and hours of film already just today. And we're going to sit here and we're going to watch more film. Coach, come on. And it's, I think watching film like that is definitely better for the younger guys and guys that are trying to figure some things out. But especially like the older guys, whenever I was there, whenever I was a receiver, I'm going to get ahead of myself here. That's another story. So, but you end up with those meetings where you got time built in for film and you're like, we're just running out of time. And you end up just BSing and jacking around, coming up with these stories for Odie being the dishwasher, but no. So I was going to say, it cracked me up my last year whenever I was playing receiver, and in fall camp, whenever I was there and I would watch film with the receivers instead of the Qs, we'd get toward the end of our meeting time and we'd start shaking our bags, rattling our zippers. Coach, it's time to go. 30 minutes early. Coach, it's time to go. Let's go. It's time to go. Trying to get out early, And it almost never worked. I think it worked one time, but they'd already planned on letting us go early. So I don't know if that even counts, but
no.
Oh my God. Some of those night meetings and the receivers get in there just kind of messing around at some point, where it's like, Coach, I don't know how many times we can watch this smash concept though. I mean, we got it. And then we get to the point where we're watching NFL film and we're like, man, like I could go to sleep right now. I could go home. I could have an extra hour to go to sleep, but no, we're going to watch some more film. It's like, God.
There was some funny conversations in that receiver room. There's plenty of good, funny conversations that I remember. So this comes to my head.
How about Tim and Farouk?
Yeah, I was gonna say Rookie, my man. Shout out to Farouk, man.
Shout out to those guys.
Rookie bands, man. Shout out to Rookie bands. I hope he's listening to this. Rookie bands and Tim. Hope you all listen to this. But I remember those two going after it in meetings. But also I remember the time where they were on the field. We're in walkthrough. and I can't remember what Tim said or something. And Root got pissed. And Root just started, he just swung. He took a swing at Tim. And Tim just started crying, laughing. I remember Coach Viaki was laughing, and Coach Davis just sitting there saying, like, what's going on? Like, figured out, like, what just happened? Like, did I just really just see this?
Oh my
And Rookie Bands, like, I remember we used to sit and film. And you and me would just, like, we'd have, like, an inside joke. And be like, hey man, let's just watch Rookie Bands. Like, let's just like let him do his thing. Like, let's watch him. And we would just start. I just literally be sitting there just smiling, not trying to die laughing. Because then Rookie Bands, you're a character, man. Like, you used to just crack me up.
Oh,
you'd be like, what's the vibes, Brody?
vibes, buddy. He would always do that. No, the funny stuff was him and Tim. I don't know. I don't know if they like low key kind of didn't like each other, or if they were always just messing around. But there was another time at practice too where Tim walked up to Tim walked up to Rook and put his head or his hand on his forehead and was like, "This kid's a little boy" or something, like like that. And Rookie Bands was pissed off. It was so funny. But stuff like that would happen, you know, or they would get on each other's heads in the meeting room, and Coach Piaki would have to get, hey, we're trying to watch film here. And those two were messing around the whole time and just got right in the middle of meetings. But oh my God, I mean, talk about how many times did we sit at dinners and crack up laughing about stuff that would happen in meetings?
I think it's every time. It was at least every time there would be something that came up or something, especially Tim. Something Tim would say or something Tim would do, especially shout out to Tim, but it's something he would say or he would do that you would just be like, yo, like, this is just way too funny. This is just way too funny.
It was. Well, Tim, I think, you know, similar to myself, and I don't know if this sounds bad to say or not, but I mean, it was I guess a good way to say it is it was kind of chopped cheese for me.
Chopped cheese. That's another chopped cheese.
That's another Odie joke. Chopped cheese for the boys. As far as my Albany career, you know, my last year there, it was kind of like it wasn't in the cards, you know. So my role was like, hey, how can I put my best foot forward to help the team as best as I can, and be the vibe check guy that's like, hey, let's bring some good vibes, you know, like I'm not getting my opportunity, so you better be busting your ass with yours.
Exactly.
You know, so it was like, hey, let's go out here and do the best that we can do, whether that's we're going to a lift, whether that's we're going to film, whether that's we're going out to practice or a walkthrough, whatever it is. Hey, let's have a good attitude. Let's go do it to our best ability at 100%.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And I think Tim was another one of those guys, and the way that he really brought value to the team was like comic relief. I mean, that guy worked his ass off. He was like one of the hardest working players on the team, and he 100%. Helped massively on the field when it came to practices and all that stuff. But we had so much fun with Tim simply because of the type of energy that he brought around. It was like, dude, if we were stressed out at a game, you know, if you're like, dude, I'm just laughing, just thinking about this guy, you know, I mean, he just brought so much fun energy around that we always got to have fun with, you know?
Yeah.
I think another guy that we'd have fun with at Fridays, you know?
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I think we're missing a little bit of that vibe. I mean, that vibe on the team. Cause I mean, just having that in the locker room or something, just some dumb, like Will Brunson, like before, you know, Tim it was Will Brunson. And then Tim kind of took over a little bit as the funny guy in the locker room. And right now it's kind of hard with COVID because like you're kind of just supposed to get in and out of the locker room and stuff like that. So you can't really spend time much in the locker room. So
really, I didn't know that.
You can't really it's really tough to have that. And, you know, I haven't really seen really many people or anyone really kind of take that role as, you know, kind of the funny guy in the locker room or bringing that kind of funny vibes or that good vibes, you know, a little bit like, you know, that kind of vibes that helps bring everyone a little loosen up, you know, help loosen up a little bit, you know, like, hey, like we're still here to have fun. Like, I understand we're here to win, like work hard, but we're still here to have fun, you know?
Yeah, no, I think there's different types of, there's obviously different types of leadership, but and I don't know if I would necessarily classify, those types of energies as like a leadership. I think it is at some level,
Yeah, I think
But
so.
I mean, there's times when it's like, hey, we need somebody to be serious and vocal about, hey, we need to get in gear. We need to
Yeah.
get this thing in gear. And I think there's other times where it's like, guys, stop being so serious. Let's just chill out and play our game. Like
Yeah.
let's chill out and do what we need to do, and everything's going to take care of itself. I
Yeah.
mean, think of how much stress a team goes through. If they're trying to get too serious and they're not focusing on the things that they can control. I mean, think of all the things that happen around us that we don't have control over that stress us out all day, every day. It's like, man, leave those things alone. Give those things to God, right?
Yeah.
Don't try to put those on your own shoulders.
Exactly.
I mean, let's focus on what we can control. And that is, hey, am I waking up, going to class every day? Am I doing my homework every day? Am I going to lifts? Am I going to film? And am I attentive and paying attention and taking good notes when I'm in there? Am I present in my mind as well? Whenever I'm at practice, am I paying attention and working my ass off physically? And along with that, am I operating by default in my life? And if I am, I need to fix that, because only those things that are in our control are very few when it comes to all the external factors that truly impact and affect our lives.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's and I think that's one of the best sayings I've ever heard is, control the controllables. Like, you can control like what energy you bring, or you can control like your attitude. You can control these other things, but at the end of the day, like there's so many things you can't control, like, but you can control these little things that, can make or break your day. That's I think that's so important. I think that's what people miss. And
Yeah.
like I said, bringing those good vibes, I think that's important, and bringing that, that positive energy that helps bring, a lot of people with them.
Yeah. I always like to look at things in life in general as a fork in the road. Something's going to happen in the outside environment that we're not going to be able to control. And from that point on, there's a fork in the road. Am I going to go left, or am I going to go right? Am I going to take this a bad way? And am I going to let it affect other things in my life that it maybe doesn't directly affect? Am I going to allow it to affect my attitude in a negative way, so that, I'm going to be bringing a bad attitude to something else? Or am I going to say this bad thing, or I don't want to say bad thing, because,
Yeah.
events that happen are not inherently good or bad. It's our, emotional responses and interpretations of those things that are
Exactly.
bad, right? And so it's, hey, those responses and interpretations of events, those are malleable, and that's within our power. It's, hey, this is a really good thing in that I have an opportunity to learn from it, right? Or it's a good thing because it is a good thing. That's what it's supposed to be. It's either you win or you learn. And to me, both of those things are wins. It's a win. It has to be a win-win situation, or you're going to lose. If your mindset, if you take the wrong route, if you take the wrong route on that fork, if you take the wrong route more times than you do good, you're in a bad spot. And it's pretty evident. I mean, it's almost scary whenever you see how easy it is to get sucked into that bad mindset, and that's where, like we talked about earlier, reading books and listening to the right podcasts and watching the right interviews with the right people and all those different ways. I mean, if you can identify your vision and where you want to go, what do you want for life in general? I'm not saying what do you want, what's your dream job?
Yeah.
We're not talking about that. What do you want out of life?
Yeah.
I like to think of 5 core areas that you live in your life to, you want to progress in to be more successful. And that's, relationships with friends and family, your career, your finances, your physical and spiritual health and well-being. What do you want in all of those areas? Once you identify what you want in all those areas, it makes it a lot more easy to be intentional on bridging the gap between where you're at and where those things are. And if you're not living by design and on purpose, I mean, the odds you ever get in there are slim to none. It's wild.
Yeah.
It all starts here.
It's Pennsylvania, like this It's crazy. It's called show, but there's this person who went to go rob the bank, and he had a bomb strapped to his neck, like a homemade bomb and homemade like neck thing, and it was like
No big deal, normal stuff every day.
But it was like, yeah, literally it was crazy. But it's like the fact that it was in like my hometown, and I lived 5 minutes away from where this thing happened, and I was just like, fine. But whether you're from Erie or not, the story is just fascinating. Like just and figuring out these certain things, like who did it, and all this forensic stuff and stuff like that. It's just, I find that part of that. Like I took forensic science in high school and stuff, but part of that just like figuring out who did it and stuff like that, and just like, man, this stuff is just crazy, knowing that it can just almost happen to anybody.
So there's some really cool videos on YouTube. I forget the exact guy's name, but he's like a special, oh man, I'm gonna forget exactly what his title is, but he does interrogations, and he will commentate on interrogations and break them down on the strategies that the interrogators are using to, extract information from whoever it is that they're talking to and stuff. They break these whole things down. They're really interesting as far as, the types of communication, whether that's, verbally, how we're, just talking, or whether that's body language and the way that they can apply pressure to people. Dude, it's crazy some of the stuff that they learn doing interrogations, or learning to do interrogations. But you said something earlier and you kind of just smoothed right over past it, like you didn't say it. First of all, can you guess what that thing is?
No.
You said, do you think we're in a simulation?
I know I didn't know where this was going to go, because I remember you talking. I made a big joke. I did kind of go over it because I did want to go. I am still fascinated because I'm watching the Elon Musk one, and he talks about it a little bit about it. But even just talking about this alien stuff, like thinking about like, man, like, I don't know. There's it's some far out stuff, but good night. Like,
it's weird. Like, I don't know if we should feel like idiots for like sitting here and like talking about this in public, but it's like, it seems to be a very real thing that people are talking about. I don't know if I would make any strong stance on whether aliens or UFOs or whatever are real or not, but it seems to be a very real topic that people talk about, that people are interested in talking about it.
I don't know. I think the UFO thing, I think that's real. I think there's another one that happened with, I saw American Airlines. And they said something like, hey, go talk to the FBI about it. Like, yeah, like they're not denying. If they're not denying it, then like, and the U.S. government's never denied that there's not UFOs. Like, they've never denied it, but they've never confirmed it. Neither.
Well, didn't the CIA release something over the summer that talked about, aliens or UFOs or something?
I think what they said was like, they were saying that like, hey, like, this is real. Like, this video is real.
Yeah, that's right. Because it was the pilot. It was like the Navy pilot that was flying,
and he was like, "What the?" Like, he was like, "What's going on? Like, I've never seen anything like this." And they were saying that they're confirming, saying this isn't a fake video. This is real. Like, this actually happened. Like, this is confirmed.
So you mentioned Bob Lazar earlier. So have you watched the documentary
The Jet, which first like 15, 20, 25 minutes, it didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why did you make this an hour 30 long? Like, you could have just saved me like 45 minutes and just had it at 45 minutes and just left it at that. I thought he was going to come up with something. I was just waiting for him to say something more and more, and he never said anything more. It's just about the same throughout the Netflix documentary.
That's exactly what happens, because in the podcast they break down a lot of stuff. They talk in much more detail on some of the stuff that they talk about in the documentary, which it should be, you'd think it would be like opposite, right? It would be opposite. So I watched the podcast first before I'd watched the actual documentary. So I watched the podcast, and I was like, wow, this is crazy that this guy's coming out and saying this stuff. And, at that point, I didn't realize that he had already been coming out and saying that stuff for years and years and years, since I think like the 80s or whatever. Right. But then, throughout the podcast, they're like, yeah, just watch the documentary. So I was like, okay, well, I have to watch this now.
Yeah.
I think I might have watched them back to back or like within a day or two of each other.
Yeah, something like that.
And the documentary that is exactly what you said. It kind of like, it gives you all this information. You're like, oh. It's like waiting for like a bass drop, you know, on like a song that just comes, you
It
know.
just never happens. It's a bass drop that just never happens.
Yeah, it's already over. And you're like, what? Didn't even really talk about it. But I mean, if there's one story that's, you know, credible, it's that guy.
He's
you know?
he's not like, and I'll say this like on the record here, it's like he's definitely not lying. If you watch the documentary, like there's people who are crazy and like make stuff up and like do it for like all like, I want to make money, I want to put my name out there. The dude just has not made a single dime off like him coming out and saying certain stuff. Like it's only brought more attention to him, like getting interviewed and stuff. So like, I think every time you talk to him, it's the same story as well. Like there's nothing that changes. Like you'll hear people lying. Like you could even say like, we're talking about the evil, or whatever. And his, like, you couldn't confirm like whether he was there, confirm not he was there. Like, but like, it was just interesting because then at the end of his trial, like he was starting to like, I thought he was going to be like not guilty. And then he started saying stuff that kind of probably incriminated him and changing his story, you know, to do that. And it was like, well, you just completely changed your story now a little bit. Now you're saying stuff that like seems like, oh, you were lying about, you know?
Yeah. No, it's wild, man. I think the alien UFO stuff is really interesting because I mean, you know, like it's tough to. I don't want to trip over my words here. It's tough to try to conceptualize that there's some other type of civilization. And if we're talking about UFOs, it has to be a very civilized and technologically advanced type of civilization, you know, because, you know, if you think like, yeah, there's life, but it's like bacteria and microbes. Well, they're not flying UFOs, you know?
No. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I've never seen a bacteria fly a UFO, you know, but also I've never seen a human fly a UFO. Now there's planes and stuff, but you know,
not the UFO, like how it's like constantly changing
the way
direction.
that those things move. Yeah. The way that those things move is something that, you know, we're not familiar with, at least as civilians, right? Maybe the government, I don't know, who knows? Maybe the government has more information on things that we don't know about, right? That's kind of Bob Lazar's case, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's real tough to conceptualize with our own perspective on what technology is and how advanced we are. It's tough to conceptualize what is way further advanced than we are. And when you talk about interstellar travel and like going to different galaxies and being able to travel around different planets and stuff, because in reality, that's what UFOs are, right? If they're real, is life forms from other places coming to the Earth.
But they're finding other life forms as well. Like they're not just like messing around saying, okay, we're just going to like, you're just gaining more information on the universe, you know, seeing like where there's life, where there's not, what planet has different attributes, like, you know, maybe even getting different elements from different planets, like figuring out, okay, this is where we're going to get this element because it's way better than what we can find here and stuff like that. So we're going to bring it here, you mine it and stuff like that and using other stuff. But I felt like 2020 would have been a crazy year. And even late in the summer when they said they came out with it, I think they were going to come out with more, but I think with COVID happening in 2020, that they didn't already want to overwhelm the people because people were already going crazy over COVID. Yeah. And so like, if the government were to confirm or say something, bring out more information about UFOs, I think some of the population would go nuts, you know, like they would just, it'd almost be a fear though. Also, like there's also a fear factor that's saying like, well, there is somebody out there and they're more technological sound than we are. Like they got more power than us. So we're like, oh shoot, we're screwed. Like,
man, people are so weak mentally today. It's absolutely absurd. People can't handle anything, you know? I mean, look at, you know,
like
I don't want to sound like I'm insensitive to situations. Because obviously everybody's living their own lives. There's plenty of outlying situations that are going to affect things that are not, you know, the norm. But dude, like these people need to stop being in their heads so much, man. Just go live your life. It's just like we were talking about earlier. Stop getting so stressed out about shit that doesn't matter, things that you can't control. Just chill out, man. Keep the main thing. What can you control? This right here, this right here. You know, I can control what I do and I can control my mindset, you know, and if I can control those things and don't worry about the other things, then I'm not worried. You know, I'm not worried about stuff. Now, obviously, like there's external factors, you know, that affect things, but I mean, it's all about how are you gonna look at it, you know? But it is wild though. People probably couldn't handle if they said, "Hey guys, just want to let you know there are actually aliens, and they're way better than us, way stronger than us. So if it ever came down to it, we'd be absolutely effed." People would handle that.
I'd say they'd be like, "Yeah, we've had contact with other civilizations or something like that, I think there was somebody like a couple months ago or something that who worked for like the Jerusalem or something.
Oh yeah, that guy came out like that.
He came out and said, "We've been talking to a life form on Mars for like the past like 10, 20 years or something like that."
I think he talked about different life forms and they're on Earth already. Yeah, he's like the head of something over the AI. I don't remember what that.
I don't know. That's all I saw about it. I saw something about it.
That was pretty interesting. I mean, dude, there's so much weird stuff going on. I don't know. I mean, like I've tried to ask like my parents, my grandparents, and like, hey, is the stuff that's going on right now, have things like this ever happened in you guys' lives? And they're like, no, this is all new stuff for us too. I mean, like we're like really going through a weird part of life right now where some weird stuff's happening, you know? I mean, just think of COVID, for example, you know, I mean, obviously there's, you know, there's like the, what is it? The flu 18, when was that? Was it
H1N1?
No, no, the Spanish flu.
Oh, the Spanish flu in 1818, I think it was right?
Yeah, 1818 or whatever it was.
Something in the 1800s.
So something like that happened, right? But that never has happened. I mean, think of the type of technology that we have today. I mean, that adds a huge dynamic to it. I mean, technology and how it has affected and I would say shaped what our social construct is today. I mean, and then you bring COVID into the mix. It's like, we got a huge storm coming, you know, it's like, and it's weird. It's a really weird year. I mean, people weren't working at work. People were staying at home. People were kind of locked down into their own little bubbles. I mean, restaurants closed. How many businesses went out of business because of all of this stuff?
Too many.
I mean, too many for sure. Like just weird stuff like this that's happening right now in our lifetimes that have never happened before, you know? I mean, what a weird deal.
Let's think about like you kind of like personally, you probably got out the right time, like with football and like being a student athlete, because coming back this next year, like, and taking, you know, your mindset to what you already were, you probably, you know, I've talked to a lot of people who graduated or had a year back and they're like, man, like I do miss football, but you know what, at the end of the day, I made the right decision because with this COVID stuff, like, you know, whether they knew COVID was going to hit or not, like, you know, like it's been so weird. Like, I don't even know how, like Nick, I can't even explain like how weird like football has changed, like how different like school's been, like even just like going to like normal life, just going to class, going to meetings, like going, even just like weight room, just like little stuff, like just the littlest like thing that you think like, and granted, like, I think that it's putting a burden on some people. Cause I mean, we bring it in, we say, okay, bring it in. Like, on the EA with Coach Gattuso, and the first thing everyone says is put your mask up.
Oh my God.
Like, and I understand like that's a big deal, but it's like if you're like, we're constantly thinking about stuff like that. And, you know, it's just like, I think that's put a burden on a lot of people, you know, that maybe not necessarily they need to be put on, but it has to, because, you know, as a school, we've put priority as COVID is pretty much number one.
That's weird. Well, what do you think about that? What do you think about priority number one being?
Yeah, I mean, I got my own opinion about it. I won't.
We don't need to be too public with.
Yeah, I don't really want to say about it, but like I said, it's just like it is what it is, and like I said, control your own controllables. Like at the end of the day, like whatever the university or whatever the situation they're going to put in, I'm going to thrive in that situation. Like in this COVID time, like I was, we weren't really having voluntary workouts, but like for example, like in the summertime, like I didn't know if we were going to play or not. Like I had no idea. Like honestly, I thought we weren't, but I was like, hey, I'm going to go get ready and I'm going to sacrifice my time to go, hey, I'm going to go back to Albany and sacrifice time I'm going to spend with my family. Cause I think, the team, whether we play or not, I think like if we do play, man, I'm going to be the first one ready, and the same thing over the winter time. Like I left the day after Christmas to come back to Albany to start training with Coach Barber and other stuff, because if you're coming from a non-contingent state, you have to quarantine for 14 days and do all these other stuff. And so like, I'm going to say like, hey, I'm going to be put in this situation and I'm going to thrive in the situation. I'm going to quarantine for those 14 days. I might not agree with the situation, but guess what? I'm going to quarantine for those 14 days. And when I'm ready to go, I'm going to train, for as long as I can until we have a report day. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's all I could control was, hey, all I can control is, hey, I'm going to come back and I'm going to work my butt off. And whether we play or not in the spring, which I think we are going to end up playing in the spring, which is fantastic. And I'm great. Well, guess what? All those people who were sitting at home, even, teammates or even other people on the other teams who sat at home and did nothing, and came back kind of unprepared, guess what? I'm more prepared than all y'all are. And so guess what? It's going to show on the field. And I think I've been able to show that this past couple practices and stuff like that.
That's the truth, man. That's the truth. So how's game planning for New Hampshire been? I mean, what are you guys looking for? I don't want you to give away any secrets.
No, I won't give up anything. But like I said, they got a lot of new guys on their team. Just like similar to us. Like I mean, their defense, they had a lot of, their two corners are gone. And so they lost a couple missing pieces on defense, but I mean, we've lost a lot of pieces on offense. So, like I said, and it'll be interesting because, I don't know who opted out, who opted in or whatever and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see like all these different things, to be a part of that. And so it's like, hey man, like there's no really film of them, like they got the same defense coordinator. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's just like, hey, like you told this, Coach Davis says, hey, let's worry about us. Only people that are going to stop us is us, and I still believe that. And I still think that as an offense is that's the same way. The only way it's going to stop us is us. And so us making penalties, us dropping balls, us not making the right reads and doing these other things, who cares what the defense is in? Like, let's go make plays.
Yeah. So my last year we were there. Do you remember what this is?
It's 1 inch. No, it's the difference.
That's the difference, right? That's what Coach Davis is saying was, this is the difference. It's that little bit, just like you're saying, that little bit of extra training, that coming in a couple weeks early, so that you knew that you were going to be in a good position, right? Whether you were going to play or not, you were going to be ready to go. Whenever your time was ready to shine, you were going to be ready to go. Do you guys have a new saying and I guess credo for this season yet?
The difference, and like I said, this past couple weeks, we haven't played, like we haven't played football in 14 months. This spring camp, a lot of the stuff, our success, we've been constantly building. Like at the start, we sucked. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, we sucked, and we were constantly getting a little bit better each day. And it was, like I said, it was the difference each day of us building and breaking that rust off and constantly working on the little things and stuff like that, to where I think today and this week is probably gonna be our best week of practice, I think, because we had a scrimmage on Saturday and I was really excited. The offense was able to move the ball and stuff, and we were able to hit plays that we weren't hitting plays before. And it was, you could just tell is the difference in that aspect of certain things, which is so important. Like, the little things in life are so important.
Well, let's talk about something that's maybe not so wide stream to the layman and somebody that maybe isn't in the football world, in the college football world, or hasn't been, people out there that are listening that haven't ever played college football. I think a fun thing to talk about and talk shop about, especially, during fall camp, right? Obviously this year is kind of a weird one, but you get in fall camp and it's like, did you see homeboy on scout team today? Who's out there?
who are the guys on scout team? Because I know whenever I mean, all 4 years of my college football was like, did you see homeboy freshman, or did you see this guy do this, or maybe it's some funny stuff happening. I remember whenever I was a senior, right, and I'm on scout team. I'm down here having fun, slinging the ball around, having a good time, keeping the energy up. I go, and I'm playing a different offense every week because I'm playing, whoever. So we're doing a lot of under center stuff this one week. Well, I reach over, we're having some fun. I reach over to my offensive guard, and I unhook his chin strap right before I call the snap. So I reach over, unhook him, call a cadence, and we run through the play. We come back to the huddle afterwards, and he said, "Did you unhook my chin strap right before the play?" I said, "Yeah, I did. I did that." And he was like, "Why did you do that?" And everybody was cracking up, laughing about it. Or another time, Nick Dillon, he was, nose guard for UAlbany, done now, and he actually started his career, and he's doing some fun stuff. But I remember it was one of those situations where he was right up, almost touching heads with our center, and I reached over and I pushed the top of his head, so he kind of stumbled back in. That I called the snap. We would always do stuff like that, or I would audible plays on scout teams. So they're showing up cards.
You're checking certain things.
And it's, it's Coach Nicastro, right? It's Coach Nicastro is in there. So I'm like, Coach, that they're never going to run this play, right? That this play doesn't make any type of sense, right? And he was like, I know, you just got to run it. This is what Coach gave me. This is what Coach Duds gave me. This is what Coach did. We got to run it. I mean, all right. And then I'd go out there, hey, run this route, run that. You run this one. And then we throw routes at, hey, Coach Duds, you remember he'd get so pissed. He's left Albany, hasn't he?
Yeah, there's a lot of coaches that have left since you've been here.
Gosh, man.
A lot of great guys too. And it's good for them. Good for them because all of them have been able to improve. So Coach Duds is at Arizona. He's with Don Brown. He got fired at Michigan. Now he's at the defense coordinator at Arizona. So he's the linebackers coach there. Mm-hmm. Coach Holly is at North Texas, the Mean Green. Closer to you, but he's one of my favorite coaches. Coach Cox, I think he left to go to Air Force.
Yep.
So a lot of defensive guys. There's a lot of defense guys, but going back to your thing, I don't think there's a lot of stuff that's been happening on that scout because at the end of the day, Nick, we're when you were here, we were really we were a veteran kind of group. There's a lot of guys who've been around college football for a long time. It's kind of weird. Now, I'm kind of the even as a redshirt sophomore, I'm kind of the old guy.
You're the old guy.
I don't I ain't been here for that long, but that's how young our team is.
Crazy, man.
There's just not a lot of guys who've who are still here. We lost a lot of guys last year. It's kind of it's weird, and everyone's still trying to figure their spot out on the team just because we have so many young guys.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely true where, you're talking about having some older guys. I mean, whenever I got to Albany, I had already been in college football for, 2 years, I think at that point, right? Yeah. 2 years.
Yeah, I think so. 2 years.
I'd already played 2 years of college football by the time I'd even gotten to Albany. But, that whenever you come in as a freshman, right, and you're a freshman, you're not worried about having any fun. You're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. At the end, that's all you're trying to do.
Is just get in where you get in. You're not trying to have some fun, but the fun part is to what we're sitting here talking about is you get to a point where you're okay, I'm comfortable with how college football works as a whole in general, right? We have practice and, we're going to come together. We're going to do our warm up and then we're going to split up, we're going to do, offense, defense. And then those guys, we're going to, in offense, we're going to split up. We're going to do our individual drills. As quarterbacks, we're going to work on drops and we're going to work on spot throws. And the receivers are going to work on stance and starts and different types of cone drills and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you're going to come together in small groups, right? Maybe the quarterbacks will work tracks with the running backs and you guys, receivers will work on different drills. Then you come together and you have your group periods, right? You at that point that you understand how the flow of things work, Then
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I'm not worried about trying to figure out what's going on here. Well, let's make it a little fun,
Yeah,
right? Let's make it a
exactly.
little fun. Hey, there's a couple of times, dude, I think there were times that I took like 8 or 9 step drops, and it's like, that's not real. It's like just doing dumb stuff, or like, there were times that, oh my God, did you ever hear about the time that I smoked Coach Davis? Oh God,
I don't think so. I don't know if I heard about this one.
I hit this guy so hard in the ear with the football.
Oh, I did hear
So,
about this
he
one.
does the window drill.
I remember that.
Where we
I
got,
remember I know exactly. They still do it today.
he still
Window drill.
does. He's a big window drill guy, and so he's either going this way or he's going that way.
Exactly.
First move that he makes, you got to throw.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're sitting there ready to go. He moves and you throw. But this dude faked me out. And he caught the ball right in his ear. He didn't realize the ball was going. Oh God! I was like, oh God, am I gonna get a 6 a.m. for this? Like, what's about to happen here? But we were luckily we had a good time with it, and it kind of became just an inside joke. And so I think every time we did that drill afterwards, he was like, don't hit me here now. Don't hit me, Nick. Don't hit me, Nick. But
yeah, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to like see like these freshmen, like they don't know what really college football is like, really, to be honest with you, because like, if I'm being honest, like we've done the weight room stuff, like that's no different, but like the football side of things, like the camp, like they don't understand like the camp side of things yet. Like, hey, like you're going to be in meetings, you're either going to be meetings or you're going to be practicing or in the weight room. Like that's like your life for like a month, like you don't, like the fact that you don't know what day it is, like you figure out like what's today, like it could be any other day, but it's Friday. Whoa, shoot, it does not feel like Friday. It's definitely not Friday night. It feels like it's a Monday morning, like you know what I mean, like.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I mean, at fall camp is like taking a slow walk into like a time machine. You go in and everything just pauses. You get like 2 or 3 days in and you're like,
is this
what
over?
Day is it? What week is it? Are we in the same year that we're in? There were days, it's funny too, because as you start camp and you're like, this is going to be so great. This is
football again. Yes.
Can't wait. And then like a weekend, it takes you 45 minutes to walk about, what should take maybe 10 minutes because I can't walk that fast and my feet hurt. Dude, being a quarterback, pretty much my entire career, and then playing receiver that last year, dude, my toes, my feet, my calves, my knees, I never walked slower in my life than whenever I was playing receiver, but that's definitely the truth. I remember because you start camp and at Albany is the way it was. You start camp and you're like, okay, we're going to go 3 days on and we're going to have our first off day or 4 days or whatever it was.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. And then, but still on your off day, because what a great opportunity to get better after 3 days straight of like football prison, Football prison is like, okay, now we're going to have an off day. And you're like, sweet, I'm going to get some sleep. No.
That's 6 a.m. meetings.
That's,
and then
that's
like,
not what that means.
What's an off day? Is just a meetings all day.
Off day just means we're going to watch film all day, every day, all day. And we're going to install a huge install and we're going to watch film on all of it, And so then you get to a point where it's like, okay, now we're kind of nearing the end. And it's just like coaches, you turn into a robot, you just hurt. You hurt all the time. You're tired all the time. You don't want to do anything, and you get to the point, coach, hey, we're doing this. Okay. You just do it full speed. You're just doing it,
You're not even thinking. You're not even thinking. You're just doing it.
Yeah, no. And, I think that's part of the design of fall camp, right? Is to kind of get you into a part where we're going to work you all the way down to where it's like, hey, can you handle this? And, the people that do handle it, move through and hopefully have a successful season, right? Because they've been prepared well and continue to prepare as the season goes on. But man, dude, fall camp is some of the worst stuff, but there was some really fun times.
What? Like
we had our whole crew that would eat all those meals together, like you were talking about earlier.
At the end of the day, like all that stuff, like all that crappy stuff, like you talked about, like at the end of the day, those like meals, like being able to create those bonds, and I talked about this on these past 2 podcast episodes, is like, hey, those bonds, like like this bond right here that we have, like it's not going to go away. Like it'll last. Like the bond I have with like Braden and Griffin and Tim, just like hanging out with you guys, like, and hopefully more guys to come, you know, with these, with new camp, multiple camps coming up, like, you know, I'll be able to create those bonds, like just talking to people and just like being able to get to know people. Like it's just like sort of chemistry you start to build. And it's just like, you know, it's something you never forget, because you go through all this crap, you know, like you're suffering together, you know, it's you're suffering together, you know, that's what brings everyone a little bit together. And at least people you eat with, you know, or you talk to, it's like, it brings you together because we all know what you're going through. We're all suffering. What I think is what's interesting is with this COVID stuff, like we're not allowed to have hot tubs. There's no cold tubs. Like, and shout out to Pat, which hopefully, I don't know if he's had time to listen to any of these podcast episodes, but hey, Pat, I'm going to tell you tomorrow when I go to treatment, hey, you got to listen to this one, because I'm giving you a shout out here, is, man, this Pat has been working his butt off, because there's been so many injuries and stuff, like especially because he's only limited to so much treatment he's able to get. Like he's in charge of, I know, like usually Jay's out there helping, but Pat's literally doing, he's one man show. You know, so it's like
Pat was always on it, even whenever I was.
And I love Pat. Like he's, you know, he's awesome. Like he's one of my favorite people, favorite staff members that I've, you know, interacted with at Albany. And like just being able, you know, I just feel terrible for him, because he's just working these 12, 14-hour days, pretty much just like helping us out. And, you know, he's only allowed so much treatment, and, you know, like with getting guys back and certain things, like he's not, like you said, not able to do like some contrast with like in the hot tub, cold tub, stuff like that. Like you're not able just to like say, hey, like I'm just going to sit in the cold tub for like 10 minutes and just like, I'll feel like $1 million afterwards, you know, like it just like helped me recover faster and stuff like that. And so like, you know, it's just, that's been tough for us a little bit, is, you know, a little bit with the injuries, is like the stuff's been nagging from a couple guys, because, you know, it's harder to take care of now because of, you know, Pat's only limited to so many hours.
Yeah, no, he was, I mean, I remember whenever I was there, man, he was always scraping somebody, or, you know, what are those little, the little ice deals that they would freeze in the form, so that they could, like, you could like rub it on, like, you know, if my shoulder's sore, I can rub it with that.
Yeah, they can't even do that treatment right now, like stuff like that.
Oh, they can't do any of that stuff?
They can do scraping. Scraping is about the only one. Yeah. I don't want to get Pat in trouble, because there might be something he might be doing or he can't be doing. I don't know. But like, there's just like, I don't know, like the hot packs. Like think about just a normal hot, like we can't even have hot packs. No hot packs.
What? What are you guys doing?
What I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about, Nick. Like this COVID stuff needs to go away ASAP. Just get rid of it. Just throw it in the trash can.
That's absurd, dude. I don't know how you guys are going to be able to prepare for practice and be like ready to go, as far as like physically, and like you're saying, things that are nagging. It's like,
and this is what you got to be like really responsible. And what I've been trying to do is like, you know, being able just to stretch and try to do certain things at home that like, hey, like I might not normally do, like when I'm usually like in season or doing at other times, you know, like, cause I'm able to do it a little bit in the training room and stuff like that, just because it's there to do that. But, you know, just being able to take care of your bodies and stuff like that, and trying to hold myself accountable to that those certain things.
It's wild. I mean, I know the way that, of course, you know, I'm not living college football life anymore. So I'm not quite, I'm not doing as much impact types, you know, training and sport as I was whenever we were in school, you know, and playing. But I mean, dude, talk about a performance enhancing drug that nobody takes advantage of. Sleep, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, because like I was saying, me and my boy Cluck, we've been in the gym for about 2.5, 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, or 5 days a week, depending. And I mean, just the simple act of getting my sleep habits and routines in check, having a morning routine, and being able to start my day the right way, and intaking the right foods and the right drinks in order to put my body in a better position to grow and be healthy in general, dude, it's huge. And whenever you are playing football and you've got all that impact coming in, I mean, through the types of trainings that you guys are doing in the weight room and the types of training you guys are doing at practice, dude, the weight room is gold. And the fact that you guys don't have heat packs to get warmed up on something before practice, or I mean, can you guys do game ready? You guys can't do game readies probably then.
I don't think so.
Do game readies, and you can't do cold bath. You can't hop in the cold tub.
Can't hop in the hot tub.
That's crazy, man.
But also it's like, I understand like your aspect of sleeping. This is why I want to kind of bring in with the student athlete part is like, hey, like with you having a job, like it might be easier for you because pretty much when you go to your job, like you don't really bring any, like unless you have like some sort of crazy important project that you need to get done, like you're not necessarily bringing it home. Like now think about like with us students, like us having to like, okay, you got homework, you got something to do, like some teacher and with these Zoom classes, it's so much harder being able to actually retain and learn information. And you get, and also like our patterns are thrown out of the way because our schedule's constantly changing because of COVID. Like they're having to able to change certain stuff with certain things because it's so odd because we're practicing in a time that football's never ever practiced before. Like we don't start practice till after spring break. Like we're trying to work with the snow, work with these other things, where we can't play on the field because there's a freaking 5 inches of snow on the field and like it's continuing to come down. And so like we have to lose practice time and stuff like that and move stuff around. It's like I said, it's been tough, but like I said, when life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade, like you just got to control what you got to control and just take it one day at a time and just do what you could do to get better at the end of the day. But
so I know springtime in Albany is like the coldest, most frigid part of the winter there. How has that affected practices and stuff? I mean, you had one example there for, snow being on the field and maybe delaying some stuff, but how has that affected things? Have you guys had some cold, dude? I remember there were some spring practices that we had a couple years ago that were like, oh, like that one day we went out there, everybody was on Jay. Hey, are we supposed to be out here? Is this legal? Hey, are we supposed to be? I mean, it was like, and everybody's got to wear team issue gear, and God knows that that's not enough to stay warm, right? And so we're all out there in like maybe 2 or 3 layers, and they wouldn't even let us have the latex gloves to put on underneath the receiver gloves. So dudes are out there like, we're getting yelled at because we can't catch balls. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to catch the ball. I can't feel my hands right now. I can't feel my hands.
We've had a couple days that were like, we've had a couple days that were cold, but there was, I think like when we came back in late January, early February, there was some days where we were supposed to be running outside and like we were out there and we were like 1 degree. Like I think the rule is if it's 0 or below, you're not allowed to be outside. And it was like the windshield was like 1 or 2.
So you guys are
and so we were out there, and let me tell you, those are like when we were running, like it wasn't like football stuff. So God bless, it was not football stuff. Like, like it was just training, like just running like the quarters and speed stuff and stuff like that. And I was glad it was that. But we've had a couple of days where it's been like 15, 10. It's been cold, but like at least a receiver for me, like we're running around, we're doing these certain things. So like, I just hated the teach periods. Like, cause we start like, we get warmed up, we're running around practice, getting around practice. And then like you start slowing down and then like you start getting cold. Like I'm sitting there for 10 minutes, not running or doing anything. It's like, I've always not been a big fan of the teach periods. And that I'd rather be, at least let's just run through these plays. Like, what I'm saying? Like, let's, instead of having me stand around,
Yeah, no, that's the truth. I remember feeling that a couple of practices whenever we had some cold ones too. But God, I was going to ask you a question a second ago. I was going to say, so you were talking about just training, right? When it's cold outside and you're like, at least we're just training, right? Do you remember, I think it was my first spring at Albany, and we had the military guys come in and train.
Oh
right?
yes, I do.
And I remember the very first day that they came, it was the first Friday, they came in and it was like 34 degrees, raining and windy.
I remember that. That was
Oh, God.
that was rough. That one was really rough.
Those days that are like just above freezing with rain, because then if you're wet, there's no way to get warm.
No,
You know?
I'd rather that have be snow. Just
And
make it snow.
then it was like we were doing like things where we had to have our hands on the ground, so our hands were out and they were soaking wet, and it was like, oh man, those are some.
But
of the
that's
worst.
another thing. Think about the freshmen. They don't know what the spring 6 a.m.s are now. Like they're gonna have to wait a whole nother year to figure out like, hey, what are these spring 6 a.m.s? Not saying like, no, they're hard, but they're not anything anybody can't do. But
Yeah.
like they're the toughest workouts that we have, like that we've had, at least in the weight room with Coach Barber.
Well, it's like what you were saying earlier. It's one of those things where if you miss out on some of that together type suffering, you lose part of the connectedness of the team. Where it's, hey, you're a freshman, but you're now going into being a freshman and having not experienced anything before you're going into your first like season. I mean, you guys are playing in what, 7 days, 6 days,
5 days. We play on Friday.
Oh, you guys play on Friday? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were
playing Friday night, Albany versus New Hampshire, 7:00. It's gonna be cold, it's gonna be windy, but it's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah, let's get it. No, I'm gonna be tuning in for sure. But it's crazy. Like some of these freshmen coming in that are about to embark on their first season and play their first games and haven't experienced a real fall camp. Not that fall camp is necessarily like the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life, but it's hard, and it's something that mentally you have to go through.
It's all about the mental side. Like it's like there's nothing like I think it's like there's nothing physical, almost all about nothing physical you can't do like when you're here. It's all about like mentally like pushing, like you can do more, like you can push yourself to do that. But I was just thinking like there's guys on the team and that I don't even know. Like I'm seriously, because we're stuck on these Zoom calls. We're doing these certain things that like, hey, shoot, I ain't never seen this kid before because like I'm doing my own thing. They're doing their own thing, but we're in and out of the locker room kind of for the most part. So who are you? I don't know who you are. You probably don't know who I am, but like, like it's just like it's interesting dynamic to like have that, where like I felt like that's kind of hurt us a little bit with the team chemistry to an extent where we've not been able to like mesh as much as I think we as a team should,
Yeah.
like whether we win a bunch of games or whether we lose a bunch of games, like I feel like even with, like when you were here for the first time, first year where I think we were on like 4 or 5 games, like, I mean, we weren't the closest knit bunch, but we were still like closer than we are right now, like, because we suffered through that. But like last year, we were a lot closer, like exponentially closer than what we were
before,
definitely that before and even this year. So it's like, just kind of figuring that aspect out, and it's going to be unfortunate. Hopefully, I hope we're going to have some sort of summer workout program or something where at least the Scully guys can come up and any walk-ons who want to pay for school and would pay for housing, whatever, can come, or maybe just guys just literally just be stacking in houses, kind of just sleeping on the couch, doing the voluntary stuff. Hopefully, create that kind of get enough guys to be able to create that close bond so we're ready to go for next fall.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be the guy to say it. I mean, I just hope to God that all this COVID stuff can be swept underneath the rug so that we can all move on to like real life, because it's like, guys, this is, it's causing more harm than it is good.
I agree.
I mean, there's a million different things that people can say and try to rebuttal, or form rebuttal statements against that. But it's like, God, dude, I mean, think of how much shit this is affecting, it's like people are depressed. People can't do the things that they're used to doing.
Yeah.
And not to say that what people are normally doing is good or bad, but it's like, gosh, man, I mean, like, can we move past this so that we can get things moving back in the right direction, it's like, golly,
Yeah, I was reading some sort of stat where I think like alcoholism, drug abuse, something like that was and like up 400%. But I was just saying like, all
Makes
right,
sense.
people people have no money. People are turning to drugs and alcohol. People are killing themselves. Like, hey man, like let's rethink about this. Like, I understand we want to worry about limiting the COVID deaths and limiting these certain things, but COVID, whether they die by COVID or not, like COVID still kind of killed those other people because they're on lockdown. Like they're the ones jumping off the roof, like they're the ones doing these certain things that they're getting crazy thoughts in their head. They're saying like, oh, my business I just started up got shut down because I can't bring any revenue. I can't pay my bills to go do these other things because the government made me not open up my business. And it's just unfortunate. And like I said, it's the sooner we get back to that, the sooner I'm hoping that, everything go back to normal. We can start, high-fiving each other, giving each other fist bumps, chest bumps, not worrying about, hey, like making sure you're spread out on the sideline, make sure your mask is up and certain things, like just focusing actually on like, hey, let's focus on school. We're a student athlete. Let's focus on our schoolwork. Let's focus on our sports, and let's focus on, our life aspects and not having them get diminished by saying, hey, like you can't go do this because of COVID or you can't do this because of that. Like I just, the sooner we get back to that, the better.
To a point where, it gets to a point of like diminishing returns, where it's
exactly,
hey, this and this and this and this and this to limit whatever bad effects COVID has. But then it's like, also, these are the side effects. And it's like, are these side effects starting to outweigh the benefits? And at this point, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even know if I would say at this point. I mean, who knows what was really going on? And I mean, it seems like there's so much misinformation about what's going. Like, who knows? Who knows? And but it's like, I don't know. It would be really cool to just move on to where, dude, there's so much fear in the world. And it's like, guys, we're focusing too much on things that it's like, can we just move past this and take a step forward? Put this in 2020 and let's move forward to another step. But I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole because we get in trouble. So
well, let's just end that right there. Let's just end it right there. Hey, COVID, go the hell away, please. Just
get out of here, COVID.
Get out of here. I want
not welcome.
Crumble you up.
You're getting kicked from this Zoom meeting. You're getting
get
kicked.
Out of here, COVID. Just don't come back. Don't come
get out
back.
of here.
Get out of here, you little son of a gun. But again, all right. Well, we'll just end it on right there. Like I said, we'll definitely have to have Nick back on. We can probably talk for God knows how many hours about different things. Great conversations always with Nick. Definitely a lot of interesting things. Definitely a lot of interesting things about Nick, about like what he knows and certain things. Glad to see Nick doing well. I had no doubts, honestly, in getting to know Nick and certain things. I knew he was going to be successful pretty much since the day I met him, whether it was in football or life or work or whatever it is. So thank you, Nick, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, man. I miss you a lot. Like I said, we'll definitely, hopefully after this COVID stuff, or maybe after I'm done playing football, we definitely going to have to get together and, have a good time. Definitely get the boys back together for
Friday, something somewhere.
Have to find a Friday somewhere, man.
Yeah. No, man, I appreciate all the good comments. Obviously, like you're saying, always great conversation when you're hanging out with TK, Oedekoven and Nyc Burns. And no, we'll definitely have to hop on here again because we could literally sit here and talk about God knows what for hours on end.
Maybe we could find a time or a spot where we could actually do this in person or something. You never know, down the road or something. We could figure something out or whatever it is. But we'll definitely have to have Nick back on the show. And like I said, I appreciate everyone's support over the past, 2 weeks. I'm going to continue with this thing, keep this thing going, helping the student athletes out. Nick had some great insight again about, how to help yourself, all you seniors out there, or people, or you grad students figuring out, getting into the workplace and figuring out, hey, how am I going to fill my void after sports, and how am I going to get into the workplace, and how that is going to translate. Like, again, subscribe, like the video, all the YouTube videos, subscribe. And like I said, there'll be a next, hopefully we can, sorry about the live again. It was supposed to be on live and I couldn't figure his technical difficulties. We'll have to try it again soon, whatever it is, but I appreciate everyone's support again. And thanks, Nick, for coming on.
Yes, sir. All right, brother.
All
Have a
right.
good one.